Grzegorz Mazur, and I will tell you about philosophy of prototyping. But first, who we are. We are Vile Monarch from Warsaw, Poland. Maybe, is there anyone who knows us already? Maybe? Okay, I know, it's my friend. Okay, so we are quite young. We started the company 2.5 years ago with my friend after we left 11-bit studios after doing this war of mine. So far we put out a couple of games, smaller games, Crush Your Enemies, which was a tiny RTS game, and Ulcer the Insult Simulator. The Ulcer was our biggest success so far. It's a game about two gentlemen trying to insult each other without using curse words in a Monty Python absurd style. So not long time ago we put out a follow-up game for that. It was called Ulcer the Hollywood Roast. Now we are working on two much bigger projects as for us that will be announced next year probably. And it will be again something totally different. So yeah, one of the bosses and technical director at Vile Monarch. Previously, as I said, I was working at 11-bit studios as a lead programmer of this war of mine and Sleepwalker's Journey, and also lecturer at film school where I teach game programming in Unity. Also amateur musician. Here's my email and Twitter if you want to talk, do business or whatever, just feel free to write. I'm happy to talk or catch me later here. So yeah, these were the games I did in 11-bit studios. It was Sleepwalker's Journey and this war of mine. So I show all of these games not only to show you what I did, but also because all of them are connected by the topic of today's presentation, which is prototyping, because all of them were done in this philosophy. Philosophy that we started doing, I learned in 11-bit studios, and I still use it. We use it in Vile Monarch because it works and it really helps us doing really good games. So let's start with what is this prototype first. So we call it's a sketch or early representation or a model of your game, but it can be also a model of only a part of your game, like a single mechanic or art style or some technical algorithm or whatever. We use it to test the initial idea because we never trust ourselves because we are doing games. Like games have to give fun to players. So even the best idea, when you think about it, for a game, for example, can be really great as an idea. But when you start playing this, you can realize, hey, it's not that fun. Maybe it's not a good idea to do the game out of it. So that's why we prototype games, we prototype mechanics to check if it's good enough. Because even even the guys that run 11-bit studios, these guys actually started game dev in Poland. It was like many years ago. Even they still prototype because they never trust themselves if their ideas are that good as we think, right? Because if our aim is to do the best game we can, we should check it first. Because later we can realize that our game is not that cool. It's also an element of risk management. If we prototype fast and check all the problems at the very beginning, we know if our game is doable, if we can run it on target platform or something like that, or we can check all the problems first, then we can plan our production much better. So prototypes particularly important in pre-production, and most of the people think about prototypes in pre-production, but this is the philosophy that can be used actually to the end of the production or even beyond. So it's really like a philosophy for a whole development process. So why prototype? Because it's fast and cheap. So good prototyping is done really fast and really cheap. So for example, if you are testing a game mechanic or your idea for a game level, you shouldn't do like assets for that and other expensive stuff. Just do the thing that you want to test, right? So you use like steal assets from other games or from your previous games or something like that. So do it fast and do it cheap, because if the idea will not be good, you will trash it away, right? So it should be done fast and cheap as possible. We use it, as I said, to check our idea, find its best and worst parts, bottlenecks. We never know what will happen, so the faster we prototype, the better. We prototype to improve our ideas. All the times when we had an idea for a mechanic or a game, after implementing prototype, we had ideas how to improve it, how to make it even better. To compare variants. Sometimes we have an idea for a game, but we are not sure in which direction go, because we can implement it in many ways. So the coolest example for that is start of 11-bit Studios company. Their first game, it was Anomaly Warzone Earth, which was inverted tower defense game. So the idea of the guys was to do inverted tower defense game, but they had like 3 different ideas how to actually make it, like what mechanics to put there, how we should control the game. So instead of just choosing one direction and going there, they did 3 different prototypes, 3 small games to check which version is the best one, even if all of them came from the same idea. And they checked it on themselves, on some friends, and they choose the best one to make the full game out of it. So probably because of that, the game was really successful because they did probably the best inverted tower defense they could, right? So if they would not, do 3 different prototypes and choose the best one, maybe they would just do like mediocre game. So it's a really good example of prototyping where doing a couple of variants is really, really important. So to estimate time better, if you prototype a mechanic or a level, you will know much more about it, so it will be really easier to estimate how much time it will take to make full game. To test on people, of course, so all prototypes should be tested on people if we test mechanics, prototype mechanics or games, and to convince and inspire other people. So prototypes are crucial to find investor, find a publisher, or even to convince people in a team, right? So for example, you finish the game and you want to do another game, you have an idea for the game. So instead of just saying to the guys, hey, I have an idea, you can spend like 2 weeks after hours at home or 2 weekends, do a really quick prototype about your mechanic and check if it's cool. And if it's cool, so show it to your guys at the studio. So it will be much more convincing than just saying about it. If they will play it and see, oh, this is cool to play, I would love to play the full game, then you have them, right? So you can use it internally for your team or, as I said, to convince publishers or investors or whoever you need to work with. So are there any reasons to not prototype? So maybe because your idea is very well thought out. It never is, as I said. Even the most experienced guys, like have 20 years of doing games, they still prototype because they are never sure if the idea will be good in practice. Maybe because you don't have time, right? Because prototyping takes time. It's not like doing actual game, but a prototype. So also it's not true because, as I said, if you will just trust your idea from the beginning and do a game and spend 1 year on it, and after 1 year you will realize, hey, this game is not that good and it won't sell, so it will be failure. So you lost 1 year, and you could like only do a prototype in 1 month, and after 1 month already know that your mechanics, your idea is not good, and trash it and start from the beginning. So you saved 1 month, but lost 1 year later. So prototyping is never losing a time. It's always saving time. So maybe because you imitate. And yes, and this is the only reason to not prototype, because when you imitate, you clone some mechanics. Everybody does it, so it's nothing to be ashamed of course. When you imitate something, there's no point in prototyping this because the original one is already prototyped, right? If you want to do another Flappy Bird game, there's no point in prototyping because the game is already on the store, so you can download it and check if it's fun or not. But if you are doing Flappy Bird with some other mechanic that is unique, you should prototype this unique feature only, because this is something new, this is something you don't know how it will play later. Okay, so how to prototype? So as I said, I will repeat it all the time. Do it fast and do it cheap. So this is an example of Sleepwalker's Journey, a prototype version and a final game. So we had an idea for mechanics where the guy goes through a level and you have to manipulate levels so he can collect all the coins and go to the end of the level. So instead of doing expensive assets and so on, we just took the assets from different games. So this red thing, which was a player character, this was the building from Anomaly because it was faster to do it like that. So you don't need graphics or something like that, other stuff, to check your game mechanics. So you can do it like that really fast, and you can check if the game is fun or not. If it's not, there's no point in doing this. Or if it's good, but you need to improve it, you still can improve it on the level of prototype. When you are happy with a prototype, you can product a whole game. So this is one of the coolest examples how it can look. So yeah, fast and cheap. So you can steal, like from other games, it's whatever, because it's for your internal users, so it's not a problem. Yeah, and you should always ask a proper question important for your game. And in most cases, it's not a question like, is my game cool? Because you have to do a prototype demo, it's like a lot of work. But more specific questions like, is my idea if input system good or understandable to people? Or is the mechanic of shooting fun? Or really specific questions. So the good idea is to divide your game idea to a separate questions like that, separate problems, prototype each of them, and then when you find the best solution for all the problems, connect them to the full game. So we did prototype of this War of Mine that way. We are doing like 6 different prototypes at the same time. Every prototype was on a different topic. So one was simulation of life parameters of people. The other one was prototype of movement if building levels. So this is the screenshot from that one. One was prototype of art style. There was a prototype of AI, and there was a prototype of combat system. So separate teams, separate people worked on that. Of course, there was someone managing it, so we won't make like a couple of games instead of one. But it was much easier to do a couple of prototypes for one game than doing this in one single big prototype. So yeah, you can ask all of these questions and find answers for them and connect them to the big solution later. So also choose proper prototype for a problem. I will show the types of the prototype we used during development later. And really important thing is testing on people, validation. So you have an idea, you do always a prototype first, and then you check if it's good or not, if your question has correct answer or not. If not, then you will have the new idea probably how to do it better, and you can do new prototype and so on. And you go in circle as long as you are happy or you realize there's no point in doing this because it's impossible or idea is bad. So you validate prototype. When you have your answer to your question, you break the loop from the previous slide, and you have to answer yourself. Should I develop it further or should I trash it? So if we are happy with the result, prototype is fun, people like it, then we should always not jump to the production straight forward, but first clean this prototype. So there was, for example, a lot of crappy code that we should probably rewrite. It always happens because it's faster to write crappy code most of the times. So you can, delete all that stolen assets and use your own, and so on. So you have to make this base before full production, because later it will blow up if you won't do this. And if you will clean all the dirty stuff from the prototype, you can jump to production and do a full game, because you already have a proof that your game will be good. And then you will add production values. But if you, after validating a prototype, you will realize it's not good, you trash it, right? It happens, right? So it's better to trash it and start maybe from the other idea to make a good game than doing mediocre game. So yeah, it happens quite a lot of times, but not everything is lost. Every time you have new ideas, some new variants for your idea, and you can gain from that prototype. So, for example, in our company, it happened like once. We had an idea, we were prototyping this for 2 or 3 months, and we saw, okay, we have really cool art style for that game, but we don't have really good gameplay. There's no point in doing this, let's do something else. So we trashed it. But we still have this art style, maybe we'll use it someday for another game. In 11-bit Studios, when I was there for 4 years, I was doing 2 prototypes that were trashed. Oh, this War of Mine is also a good example, because there wasn't like a moment that someone said, hey, let's do this War of Mine, that was the first idea, and we did the game. There was an idea for a quite different game, like maybe a bit similar with the mechanics, with a similar view. And we did the prototype in 1 or 2 months, and we realized, okay, it's quite cool, the gameplay mechanics are quite cool, but it's not enough. We want to make the best game we can. So we realized to trash it. But later someone read this article about Siege of Sarajevo, and we thought, hey, this is a really good topic, maybe we should do the game about it, because there was no games, or not too many games speaking about it. So we can use the mechanics and all we had from that prototype and what we learned, connect it with the idea about the Sarajevo and do this War of Mine. So, and then we did a new prototype and we checked, okay, this is much better, this is really cool, it's emotional, so we can make it. So as you can see, we are prototyping, we trashed one product to create another one. So it happens all the time. It looks like losing money, but it's actually saving money because later you do better games, right? So yeah, it happens. So with Sleepwalker's Journey, it was the same story. We had prototype of a different game, we trashed it, and we saw what we have learned and what else we can do. So we did a new prototype. This time it was Sleepwalker's Journey, and then it ended up like a full game. So trashing prototypes is something normal, if you care about quality, of course. Okay, so yeah, in case of failure, you can always trash it and start from the beginning, as I said. So basic rule, like a philosophy again, is cool prototype helps in creating cool game. Because if your prototype will be not cool, then the game won't be better probably. So if it's not fun, if you will add later, I don't know, cool animations, great sound, great graphics, the game will be still not fun, right? Maybe it will have better production values, but still not be good game. So you should be happy at this moment. If you are not, then you should try something else. And we work like that all the time. So let's do a lot of examples. Oh, I'm running quite fast, so good. We have a lot of time. So there are a lot of different prototypes we can do. So first of all, we can do physical prototypes without using computer. So this is the screenshot or photograph of the first version of multiplayer mode in Anomaly 2. So later, after Anomaly Wars on Earth, after big success, the company started to do a sequel, which had to include also a multiplayer, asymmetric one, because one player plays towers, the other one plays squad that attacks. So again, there was a lot of ideas how to make a multiplayer mode in that game, and nobody knew which will be the best one. So implementing this in a game engine would take like months to check. So the designers just closed themselves in one room for 2 days, with breaks of course, and they just took the drawing board, draw the level, took some rocks, I think, and started drawing and started playing. So one guy was playing one side, the other was playing the other side, someone else was counting time or something like that. And in that quick way, in a couple of hours, they already trashed a lot of ideas because they realized, okay, in that mode, in that version, one player doesn't have enough job to do and the other is has too much to do, right? So it's really fast way of checking this idea. If it will not work on this level, it won't work in the game engine. So you can play with it. If you're happy on that level, you can think about how to now make it on a computer. So this is really cool. We prototype on paper a lot of stuff. So again, this is a prototype, early prototypes of Crusher enemies, our first game in Vile Monarch. Even the level on the left end up in a final game. So we're able again to play it on a paper in a cafe, drinking wine and watching rain outside. Without a computer. It was doable because we came up with some ideas and we were able to check it on a paper. Or you can create a board game, for example. It's also much faster. And you can change the rules during the game also. So it's really great to prototype that way. Okay, did I lost one? Okay, maybe it will be later. So you can also prototype in Excel, for example. If paper is not enough. So this is the first prototype of live parameter simulation from this war of mine. It was done in Excel by designer without any programming, right? Because again, they had idea for some rules, how to calculate it, how, we had some knowledge how, for example, people behave without food and so on, and we tried to make a mini game out of it, to use it in the final game. So it was doable in Excel. You don't have to do it in Unity or any other engine. You can do it like that, it's faster. So the guys were able to do first tests and fail also at the beginning with Excel. It's really fast. It's in Polish, sorry. So maybe it's not understandable. But all the parameters are the ones that end up in the final game, by the way. So when that one was too complicated to provide more people to the simulation and more constraints, more rules, the designer actually wrote by himself a separate app in C# because again it was easier to do it that way than do it in the game engine. So introducing more and more stuff. So again, you can do it like outside of the game engine and it can be really faster. So when they were really happy at that level, they just brought this design that they end up with after doing this and give it to me and hey, now we should implement this in a game, in an actual game in a game engine, and it already worked. So, so without using a programmer, we had a big chunk of game already done. Okay, so I don't have a photo here, so I just put a screenshot because the first version of this game, also the Install Simulator, was done on a game jam. We had only 40 hours to do a prototype, so it's really not much, and we came up with an idea of building sentences. But there were many questions, like from what parts we should build these sentences, how we should calculate points, how should turns work for players, how should connectors like AND work, how we should finish the level, how many words should be here, and whether there should be some exclusive words for every player or not. There are a lot of questions. So again, if we would start doing this in Unity, we would probably do only one variant and end up with that game, and it won't be probably that good. But we did a card game. We just drawn all the words on the cards and started to play with a friend, and we are changing rules during the play because it was faster. So we are saying, okay, this doesn't work, I cannot do that, I should do this, so let's change the rules, let's change this paper, or let's divide the words differently, let's calculate points differently. After 2 hours of playing this card game, we had complete design that works. And we just started implementing this, and we didn't have to experiment in game engine anymore, because we did everything on paper. So it's really, really fast. It's faster to write something on paper and check it, change it, or something like that, than to do it in a game engine. So that's why we finished with, I think, the best polished version of our idea we had at that moment on a game jam, so in a really limited time. So doing card games also works. Of course, not for every game it will work, but if you can do this that way, it will be probably faster. Okay, so these were the prototypes for game mechanics, but also we can prototype like tech problems. We had, for example, one of many problems in this war of mine. We wanted to have this shadowing system that will hide all the things that we don't see, and we needed it to work with one person, like two characters, 3, 4, and so on. And we wanted also to make it as fast as possible to run it on mobiles later, because we knew that we'll port to mobile eventually. So again, we are not sure if it's possible to do it that quick. So we did it at the very beginning. We did the prototype with some crappy assets first, just checking if this tech problem can be solved in a really good way. So we did first version, it failed because it wasn't good enough, but then we did another one, it was good. So that was the element of risk management. We prototyped it really early to be sure that later we can run it on a target device, right? So you can prototype tech problems. You can prototype, I don't know, algorithms without even graphics, right? So like, I don't know, some calculations. You can prototype everything. First, if you are not sure how to do it or if it's doable. Okay, of course, you can prototype art. Actually, this is something popular, I think, that we always try to prototype art somehow. And we mostly do mock-ups, which are pictures that imitate a game screen. And we do it with different techniques, like using photos, using renders and drawing on them and so on to find the way we want the game to look. So again, there was a lot of versions for this war of mine. And we end up something similar to this because the final look was this one. So as you can see, again, without doing this in a game engine, just doing pictures, we can set the art style of the game. It will be much cheaper, much faster. And then we can think about how we can put it in a game engine. But we can do it later. So digital prototype, another kind of prototype. So this is actual prototype done in game engine. So for example, this is one of the small prototypes we did in pre-production of this war of mine. Because we didn't know how to make input really good, because we knew that there are characters, there are items we can use. So the question was, like, should we have like buttons there, or icons, or texts, or what? Or should it work with mouse or keyboard? So the fastest thing was to do like a fake level. It was also a prototype how we should build levels. So it was like internal stuff for level designers. So we had some simple blocks like stairs, like corridors and so on, ladder. The green guy is from Anomaly, again, stolen, and the brown boxes were items like fridge, bed, desk, chair, and something like that. So you can click on them and imagine that these are actual items. So again, it was much faster to check our ideas in that way than doing assets for that scene and doing it later and more expensive. So again, we were iterating many times, and when we end up with something we were really happy about, we knew we can, okay, let's do assets now, let's put it together and make it look nice because it already plays nice. So yeah, prototype demo. So I think this is the thing that people think about when I say prototype most of the times. because this is like a prototype of whole game, because it's all the prototypes I mentioned earlier put together. So it's a prototype of this building of the levels and input, prototype of life parameter simulation, prototype of combat, there was also a separate one, prototype of art style, everything put together in a game engine. This is what we call prototype demo. So that's how the prototype of this war of mine looked like after a couple of months of work. And on that point, we asked ourselves the question, should we do full game out of it or not? And we decided, of course, that yes, let's do this game. So actually, it looks like final game, but it's not. It doesn't have like entrance door. Actually, it looks totally different. Someone plays the game, I think he sees the differences. But this is the prototype. But to end up in this moment, we had to do a lot of small prototypes earlier, fail a couple of times, and start from the beginning to end up with something quite cool. So yeah, prototypes are mostly used in a pre-production phase, but can be used like for the whole development. So prototype is not only a sketch. It cannot only be a sketch. There will always be some unknowns. Even if we finish the pre-production, we already know that the game will be cool and we are just doing content, make it bigger. There will be always some unknowns, like we will add new mechanics, some new stuff, and we'll never know if it will be good or not. So we can, again, prototype these new ideas, the small mechanics that we are adding later. So we can prototype till the very end. We never work like that, like we create big documentation for a whole design and then we start implementing this and then we check if it's good or not. No. We never document like big. Maybe we can write like a small document and we just start doing this, like start prototyping right away. We have an idea, let's check. Don't document, don't think about all the problems we'll have. The problems will come from the prototyping. So doing big documentation, then doing big implementation is wrong and it almost never works. So yeah, you can iterate over elements of your game as many times as you want. And yeah, prototype can be applied actually to everything, not only to design, code, or art, but even to marketing. You can prototype, we always do this, I hope that everybody does it. You can prototype name of the game, right? Because you have different ideas. You can check on your friends, for example, or possible players, which name suits their best. Or you can prototype text on your store or on App Store, for example, because this is really important. Prototype an icon of your game. This is actually what what people do a lot of times. Like soft launching free-to-play games is actually like prototyping, because you prototype these all parameters for microtransactions, right? Because you launch the game only in small pace and tweak parameters. So this is also like prototyping parameters. So it's like a philosophy. It can be applied to almost everything. So with trailers, we prototype. I think everybody also does it. You can prototype trailers. We call it. I don't know if everybody calls it like that. Animatic. That when you have an idea for a trailer, we just have some drawings and move them, and to set up timing, set up a scenario, and how it should behave, and tweak on that level. If you are happy with everything like timing, music, and that stuff on this level, then we add proper final graphics, we add animations, and all the other stuff we need for the final one. Okay, so I was pretty quick. Yeah, thank you.